This is Fault from Unfiltered Audio, and at its heart, it's a dual pitch shifter. But with a frequency shifter, FM modulation, a feedback matrix, a fully featured stereo delay, mid-side processing, and a really flexible modulation engine, it's capable of producing everything from the subtle to the sublime. Now we're going to take a look at it producing all of these things across 4 different audio examples. We'll take a look at guitars, drums, and even vocals. So let's start with a mono guitar recording. Now you'll notice that I've got Fault in mono mode, and I've also instantiated the mono to stereo version of the plugin. This means that we can create stereo results from a mono source. First up, let's take a listen to the recording in its dry state. So a really well-played lead guitar phrase going through an Engel software amp model. But apart from that, there's no processing. So let's link the 2 pitch shifters and add some pitch shifting across both the left and the right channels. So we can add some really cool octave effects or even fifths and sevenths. Now let's try unlinking the 2 sides and have an octave up on one side and an octave down on the other. Now that's cool, but it's maybe a little wide, so let's take the width down here on the master and bring them closer together. And finally, we'll bring in some of the dry signal so that we've got 3 guitars playing together. Now let's take a look at a different way we can treat guitars. I've got another mono recording here and it's sounding pretty good, but I want to add some width and lushness to the whole thing. So let's take a listen to the original recording first. So it's sounding great, but it could sound even better if it was a little wider. So let's mix in this effect that I've got here and then I'll explain how it's working. So what we've got here is really something close to a traditional chorus effect with some lush ping-pong stereo delay added. We've only shifted things up a small amount here, but we've got this combined with shifter feedback. Then we've got a stereo ping-pong delay set up with different times in the left and right, and a small amount of feedback in the feedback matrix for the delay. This is then followed up by some high-pass filtering in the feedback section and a little bit of low-pass as well to take the edge off things. If you find this effect to be a little wide, again, we can use the width control to bring things in a touch. Let's listen to that. We can make things more intense by increasing the frequency shifter parameter and also the shifter feedback. A simple effect like this in Fault can really complement a great guitar part. So now let's take a look at what we can achieve with a simple drum loop and Fault's excellent modulation system. We've got a patch here with a sinusoidal LFO linked to the shifter feedback, and it's a really simple connection, but I really like what it's doing. So let's take a listen to this fading in the dry to wet. I like the way this is sounding, but let's say we wanted to take this further and adjust the frequency shifter like this. That's pretty crazy, and we could of course automate this in our DAW, but let's say instead we use another sinusoidal LFO and sync it and drag this to the frequency shifter modulation input. We can reduce the gain if this is too intense, and also adjust the tempo synced frequency here. Sounds pretty good to me. Let's take a look at what we can do with 2 instances of fault and a simple stereo vocal recording. Both of these are layered as inserts, one after the other. This one comes first and this one comes second. This one is producing a really cool modulated delay, and this one is going to be performing some pitch shifting. So let's take a listen to the vocal dry.
Oh my God, look what we've done again.
Now let's introduce the stereo delay.
Oh my God, look what we've done again. Made a mess, we made a mess.
So it sounds really nice, and we can introduce some modulation there as well. But let's say we want to add some pitch shifting. Let's try an entire octave down. I'm going to make sure this is at 100% wet, and this is going to be feeding straight into the delay.
Oh my God. Made a mess, we made a mess.
So we see a 7th down and an octave down. It still sounds really cool. We can also unlink these and create some interesting melodies. So maybe a 5th up and a 5th down.
Oh my God, look what we've done again.
We can also mix the dry wet to 50% and add some of the original to add a 3rd voice.
Oh my God, look what we've done again. Made a mess, we made a mess.
So you can see fault is capable of so many different things, from really subtle modulation effects through to very creative and intense results. Fault can be used on just about any instrument to sweeten it in the mix or completely mangle it and become this sound designer's dream. Remember, you can go to the Plugin Alliance website, grab a 14-day fully functional trial and try any of the presets you've seen here for yourself.